Well, hey there, guys. I'm Axel the Beast, and this is the Curiosity Shop, the ZeldaEngine.net video mailbag where I answer your Zelda questions. Our first question comes from Bro Buzz. What is your favorite moment in Link's Awakening? Mine would be the opening title screen where the music lines up perfectly with the appearance of the logo. I'd say there's a lot of great moments in that game, but I'd probably say that my favorite moment would actually be like the final boss fight, when the final boss actually appears. The climax of the game, basically. I liked it when you go up to the mountain at the end. I'm trying to avoid spoilers. And I liked the final boss where, well, it just has a lot of forms, and I just thought it was a great battle, a great moment, and actually it's one of my favorite final bosses of the entire series, including some of the best Ganon fights. So, yeah, I thought that was a great moment, and I definitely think it was a great climax to the game and to all the challenging fights throughout the game. Master asks, is the free Four Swords game for the DSi and 3DS the original Four Swords, or is it another Four Swords installment entirely? That is the original Four Swords game, the one that was released along with the A Link to the Past on the Game Boy Advance. It doesn't come with A Link to the Past, though. It's just Four Swords. I mean, it would be way too much pure concentrated awesome if it had A Link to the Past included and was free, too. I'm Ganon's Big Nose asks, what do you think about the downloadable Four Swords game? Well, I don't know. I think the idea of Four Swords is cool. I haven't had the pleasure of playing it yet, but from what I've heard about it, it sounds fun. So, I think it's good that they released it so more people can get their hands on it and try it out, I think it's good that they're re-releasing it, because I think that's one of the, least experienced Zelda titles, at least of the obscure ones, And, as for, I will probably get a better chance to play it now than I would before. It's kind of pointless to go get an entire copy of A Link to the Past when I already have the game. Might as well just get it on its own, But also, I think that it could have implications for the future of the series, and we may see more Four Swords stuff. I don't know. I'm reluctant to say it means much, but they have definitely expressed interest in the idea of pursuing the idea again. So, I don't know. This could be a good sign on that front. We'll have to see. Spatrata asks, in Ocarina of Time 3D, did they redo the sound effects, or are they still the same sounds from the Nintendo 64 version? That's a bit of a complicated question, because it's a little bit of everything. Because they kept a lot of the sound effects the same, but they've completely changed some others. There's some completely new ones. In particular, Link's footsteps are totally different sounds. He sounds completely different when he walks. And there are probably some, modified sound effects, I'd imagine anyway, because that's kind of what they did with the soundtrack. It's the same music, but they just slightly remastered it to fit on to sound good on the 3DS hardware, but it's the same N64 kind of sound to it. So, bit of everything there. 8-Bit Stitches asks, I've heard many different theories on where Link's Awakening takes place on the timeline. Some people have said it's a direct sequel to A Link to the Past, some say it's a sequel to the Oracle games, and I've heard ideas that it could take place on the Wind Waker side of the timeline due to the Windfish and the similarities between Link's Awakening and the Wind Waker. What do you think? Well, look, I don't think it can have any direct relation to the Wind Waker or Phantom Hourglass, despite the Windfish Ocean King similarity, or the Oracle games, because those weren't those weren't made, and they probably almost certainly were not planned when Link's Awakening came out. Link's Awakening is, in my opinion, clearly a follow-up to a existing Zelda game. Which one doesn't exactly matter. That said, A Link to the Past was the game that came out just before it, so, it's probably A Link to the Past. That was almost certainly the original intention, and I see no reason to think that they've retconned that and changed that. So I would say Link's Awakening. I would say Link's Awakening is a sequel to A Link to the Past. And I believe it's a pretty standard timeline, standard. It's a standard. Slayer of Cuckoos asks, I know that the dungeon shown in the E3 demo was the first dungeon. However, Link has 8 hearts well in this dungeon. Did he just find a lot of heart pieces before reaching the dungeon, or did he get heart containers in a different place? Actually, this is a confirmed bit of information, and it's kind of funny, actually, when you think about it. But, the demo that they gave it is the first dungeon, and no, you don't start with an absurd number of hearts. This is just the first dungeon of the game, and because this was a demo where they wanted people to really fully try out the game, and they had limited play time, they actually had, a timer on it, they gave you a bunch of extra heart containers and potions and bottles and such for that demo. So none of that's going to be in the... You're not going to have that in the game. They basically decide, you know, alright, you press guys, people from gaming websites, etc. You guys suck. So we're giving you all this stuff so you can make it through the game. I mean, that's more or less what happened. They decided to give this handicap just so they could actually try out the game and fully get a grip on the game and not have to worry about like doing it over and over again and trying to get good at the parts or whatever. Or for the people who weren't good, they just, you know, so they could experience the game and, you know, do their press take on it and cover it. Swendar asks, in all the other games except for a couple, they have Tingle. Do you believe that Tingle will be in Skyward Sword? Well, technically he's been in pretty much every game since Majora's Mask, where he first appeared, except for, you know, the DS games and Twilight Princess. Except in Twilight Princess, they had, I think his name was Perlo, and he's that kind of jerk who runs the Star minigame, and he was basically modeled to be a Twilight Princess version of Tingle. But I digress, because, to answer your question, I do think that since they've had Tingle in so many games, and even gave him his own series, he's a popular enough character that there's no logical reason to drop him. I mean, I kind of hope and think it's possible he'll appear in Skyward Sword, but I don't really know for sure. I can't say for certain. But I would like to see him, and I think there's no reason to drop him entirely. I don't know, I can't really say. I'm a bit 50-50 on it, I guess. BNM Games asks, I noticed that the harp Zelda carries while jumping off Skyloft looks exactly the same as the one Sheik plays in Ocarina of Time. Do you think it could be the same one? Actually, this was also pointed out that there's a harp that you can see that's equipped by Link in one of the earlier trailers, like on the item, you know, equip spot, and it's the same harp. So, I don't know if it's the same one. I think it may relate to the Sheikah stuff, it may relate to Zelda, it could be the same artifact passed down through the royal family. I can't say for certain what the harp actually means, since there's been pretty much no significance given to that object in previous titles. I'm pretty sure it's a timeline connection between Skyward Sword and Ocarina of Time. It's going to relate somehow. I'm not sure how they're going to do it, what exactly it is. But yeah, I think it's all the same harp, and you're probably going to actually use it in the game and use it as an instrument. It is pretty much a confirmed instrument, which is, you know, apparently it's another game where music will be an important part of saving the world. Saving the world with music. Snowland asks, do you think the angelic statue in Skyloft is Farore, Din, or Nayru? If not, who do you think it is, or is it a character that isn't in any other game? I think most realistically, it's probably either an aspect of some prototype of the Hylian religion we're familiar with. In other words, none of the three. Something we haven't seen before, but that actually predates everything, and eventually gives rise to those myths. Or it's actually one of the three, probably Nayru because of the whale stuff. Girahim says the whale is a servant of the goddess. So, Lord Jabu Jabu, etc. But, it could be like one of the goddesses, and we actually have like this patron god thing where like each group or culture or village or whatever actually worships a specific goddess, and they may not even know of all of them. That's kind of my take on it. There's realistically a lot of possibilities about it, and I don't really know what to think at this time, but those are probably my two main suspicions about it. Left-handed Link asks, will they use the sky as frequently as the Great Sea in the Wind Waker, making the player spend a long time there? I really hope not, because, you know, I hope that they use the sky more as like a, they use it so that you spend plenty of time up there. I mean, they've talked about that Skyloft will be a hub. You'll return to that village a lot. So I think that the sky will be returned to a lot, and they've also implied that you use the sky to first access new areas on the ground. But that said, I hope that the time actually spent flying is not high. And I don't think it will be, because you actually have to control this time. You're going to be quickly flying and controlling and going to different areas. And I think that they'll use it more like it's fast transit. This is your replacement for warping. And, yeah, I guess that's all I can say. I hope that there's plenty of time spent in it, but I hope the time isn't spent in the sky, flying. I hope it's spent, you know, actually exploring regions that you find in the sky, or finding new areas. Any time spent in the sky itself should be minimal travel time, I think. Alright guys, that's it for this time. Be sure to send your questions to the contact page or email address in the description, but again, try to make them about Skyward Sword, Ocarina of Time, or Ocarina of Time 3D, and Link's Awakening. And I'll see you guys later.